Hey everyone. So, this is the fishing portion of the first episode. I'm probably just going to put it at the beginning of the second episode just because I don't think it's going to go too well because it hasn't gone too well so far. um, I typically go fishing after work about 5:30, but I got a little bit of a late start tonight. I didn't get to the creek until it was about 6, 10 after 6 or so. So it hasn't gone great. And then when I get here, I go to actually, set up my rod and everything. And I tie on, I get everything ready to go. I take my phone out to check my camera angle, put my phone back in my bag, and I realized I'd forgotten to zip up the bag, which usually isn't a big deal. It's kind of it's a waterproof bag, so it's kind of like stiff, and usually means stuff's not going to fall out. But unfortunately, today that just didn't happen. I ended up losing one of my tools. And I realized right after I lost it that I had lost it, but I had no idea where I lost it because I had already walked, probably 30, 40 feet away. And I had to spend the next like 30 minutes basically on my hands and knees in the creek trying to find my tools. I finally found it, so thank God for that. But it took up a lot of time. So at this point, I have maybe 30 minutes of daylight. It's probably going to get dark in this video. I don't know how long I'm going to actually record for. And I really don't think I'm going to catch anything. Here lately, I have not had good luck with jigs. I haven't had good luck with weightless soft plastics, drop shots. I don't think I'm going to have any luck with soft plastics today because I don't actually have any bait and I'm having to use basically the Berkeley Gulp stuff. I'm using a Gulp minnow right now. It usually works if they're actually biting, but I really don't think they are. I really don't have high hopes for this at this point. It's been a very frustrating night. Um, Basically, I'm trying to copy the first video of the series. I have a Dock Demon. It is a spinning one. It's not the casting one, so it's a Dock Demon Deluxe or whatever. It's 2.5 feet. It says medium. It's not really a medium. It's more of an ultralight. It's actually more of an ultralight than my ultralight is. So I don't really know how to get medium. I guess because there's no tip on it, it's mostly just. Well, there is a tip, but it's not a tip in a traditional sense because it's. I mean, the rod's 2 feet long, so it's still 2 to 6 pound. 2 to 6 pound power. I think it's 1/64th to an eighth, which is pretty light. But anyway, it's basically an ultralight. I'm using a Vanford. This is not the one that came with it. The one that came with it's the reel that came with it's a very plasticky, small reel, and it's probably like a 500 size or whatever, so this might be a little bit bigger. The reason I'm using a Vanford is because I already had lighter line on it, and the line that comes on the Dock Demon is like 6 pounds, so it's a fair bit heavier than what the video showed, but I do not have 1 pound line. This area is just not, I don't know, this section here is usually full of green sunfish, and they're just not hitting it. When they hit it, you can tell because the bobber will just instantly go under when it hits the water, which is why I'm actually reeling in. I'm casting and reeling a lot. The fish through here just, if they don't instantly hit it, you're just gonna get harassed by the little tiny shiners, or I think they're shiners. There's some little creek chub in here too. This area here is almost always just green sunfish. I think I've seen hybrids in here occasionally. Sometimes there's a few smallmouth. They're not really big, but it seems like they're, I don't know, they just kind of chill in this area. Another reason I don't really have too high hopes on this is it's fall now, which I haven't caught a fish on anything but a spinner or a spinnerbait for a while now. It seems like they just don't want anything else here. The water itself is really low. It's getting a lot cooler. I would say probably only another month to even fish in this area. I don't really see myself doing ice fishing or anything. I'm not really a fan of the cold, but I really don't expect good things here. This little stretch here is where I ended up finding my tool. It's a little knot tool. It's made out of brass, but it's nearly impossible to find anymore. I think the company went under, so it's really helpful for the really fine line, like the 4-pound that's on here. It's not easy to tie knots, especially when it's cold, when you're dealing with little tiny thin line like that. So I like to use a knot tool for it. Because I can't find them anymore, I basically crawled around in the creek to find it. So I don't really know if you can see my bobber moving. It keeps moving because it's mostly like the shiners or whatever. It's the really tiny, I guess what most people would call minnows in this area. It's just little tiny fish. They keep just hitting it, or they'll grab the tail and run away with it. It's not a good enough bite to even set a hook. If I did try to set the hook, I would just like pull it out of the water. There's literally nothing that has the hook in its mouth at this point, at least. I may come down here with a fly rod. I would say a fly rod, probably like a 14 size or smaller, 16, 18 at least. I could almost start to catch these little fish and show you exactly what keeps biting it, but they're really tiny. They're maybe an inch, 2 inches long. Barely have any mouth. I don't even think they could get this size 10 hook in there. Which I did actually buy. I bought the size 10 hooks. I caught a leaf. I catch a lot of leaves right now. Yeah, I've caught bluegill under this tree before, but again, I have not seen a bluegill in a while. I don't know if the water is just too cool to catch them or not. I might come back down here with spinner baits or the small chatter baits, the flashback mini. So here's a really disappointing story. I was fishing under that tree a few days ago, and I've been doing a panfish tournament, so I've been trying to catch panfish of any type. It doesn't matter what they are. And again, they're just not biting. They haven't bit at all for quite a while at this point. I saw somebody sitting under the bridge earlier, and he had already said that he literally hasn't gotten a bite all day, which that's been my experience a lot lately. It seems like you'll get a few bites, you don't get anything like you used to, and I think the fish are probably just moved into the deeper holes at this point. But I was fishing literally the entire evening. Did not really catch anything of any significance. I think I caught, I think a 5.5 or 5 3/4 inch green sunfish, and then I caught another one that was maybe 2 or 3 inches. It wasn't even worth measuring. And I had my bump board and everything, which was at a 26-inch bump board. I don't typically have it on me, but I had it because of that tournament. And I finally decided, because I kept seeing what I thought was bass breaking water. So I tied on a Grand Siglet, which is a top water from Mega Bass. It's like a 1/4 ounce cicada lure. I threw it under that tree and I caught, like instantly, had this massive bass just smack it. And the rod that I was using at the time was, it was a size 1000 reel, so it had maybe 7 pounds of drag, and it was a light rod with a medium backbone, so decent rod. And this fish was big enough to put up a massive fight. This is literally like the tutorial section where it just seems like it just keeps pulling drag. And I thought I had finally got it into the bank. It was right next to the bank. It jumped out of the water. I could tell at that point it was probably easily a trophy citation. It was probably about, I think those are 19 inches. It was probably 19, 20-inch smallmouth at least. It was massive. I let just a little bit of slack in my line when I bent over to grab the fish. I could not lift it out of the water. I was kind of afraid with the line that I had. So I bent down to grab it. The moment I let slack in the line, it shook its head, it shook the hook, and ran. So I was pretty devastated at that point. It was the biggest bass I've seen in a while, and it got away. I can't even say that I caught it because it did not touch the bank. It was not a fun experience. So, yeah, it was pretty disappointing. That's the last decent sized fish I even sort of caught. I guess you could say I caught it. It was close enough to the bank that I could touch it, but I didn't land it, unfortunately. So anyway, I really think I'm going to end this soon. I'm just getting nibbles from the little tiny fish. And I'm rambling because this is boring. I don't think float fishing is bad. I think it's good if you have bait. If you want to carry bait, which I don't typically do because I only have one bag. And if they're actually biting. Or if you have friends where you can just cast out, you don't care if they bite. This right here is... it's not fun. I think this is going to be the exception. I think we're just going to knock this out. Say that it's done for now. Maybe come back to it later. Maybe revisit it when the fish are actually biting. But I just don't think that don't have any luck right now. Maybe I'll try getting trout magnets or something in a little bit. Those are a little bit brighter colored. Maybe that'll get something. I don't know. I've had luck with those lately, but probably not for a few weeks now. If you wonder why I keep pulling on the line after I cast, it's because if you don't, the line will actually, when you reel it back in, it'll be loose, especially with something this light, trout magnets, or anything that doesn't have any weight with it. It's possible that the line will pull itself out and be loose, and when you reel it back in, it'll be loose when it comes on, and it can either drop below the spool and then get up inside the spool, or it will give you wind knots. You have to deal with those, which they're annoying. Yeah, I think we're gonna call it here. I think we're gonna end it here, and then we'll jump into the next video. At least a portion of the next stages in the tutorial section. Because this is not interesting. This is probably something to be better to record in the spring, because they seem to be more into biting stuff like this in the spring. But anyway, yeah, let's give it up here, and we'll continue with the game. And we're back. So we're still in the bronze, or the bronze crappie section at this point. Still not entirely sure if I'm in the wrong section or not, but we'll see. You can see this rod is actually very close to what I was using in the real life portion of the video. And it's actually pretty close to it, honestly. It's just, I don't have it set up quite the same. I guess technically if I want to do like a future video, I could probably set it up a little bit differently. Maybe we'll actually do like a true redo on that. And it probably won't be until spring. I'll be honest, soft plastics just don't work most of the time here. It seems like they respond better to hard baits, and I have had luck with like trout magnet, but I haven't had luck with a whole lot else. The Berkeley Gulp stuff does work when it's actually working, but it seems like it's just an all or nothing thing. They either work or they don't. And if they don't work, you just get harassed by the little tiny fish. And that's another reason I don't like to use live bait here. Yeah, I almost broke that. Yeah, I don't like to use live bait. There's just too many small fish, and those small fish will strip your hook every time. Okay, well, I think we've determined this is not a crappie. This is ridiculous, and I don't think I'm even gaining on it. Pretty sure it's just going the opposite direction at this point. This starter gear sucks. Like you can't really use drag because 1 pound line will break with everything. And see, like I can't even horse the fish in. Probably be better off cutting the line, but I don't really want to cut the line and lose the fish. I can probably get this in eventually. If it gets too bad, it'll break, or we can cut it. does look like I'm gaining, even though I kind of gain and then it goes back out, and then I kind of gain a little bit more, so we might be able to just tire it out. You know, honestly, I probably should be making shorter videos, considering my channel's so new, and I haven't actually established anything yet, but this video is going to be a little bit longer anyway because of the real life section. I don't think I'm going to put the rest of the real life and the fishing together like this, or the real life and the game together, I mean. And that's just because it makes for really long videos. I just wanted to kind of throw it out there that I went out and I bought the Dock Demon and gave it honest attempt. Gave it the old college try. I might actually try to float fish again with the ultralight. I'll probably use my other ultralight, not the really short one. It's like, yes, this rod can actually cast the really light stuff, but it doesn't cast it good. In order to get any type of distance, you kind of have to really chuck it, and it's actually surprisingly easy to hook yourself with it. So not really a fan of the short ones. I do have a 4-foot 8-inch ultralight, which I think will probably be acceptable, and then I might use the short rod for other types of fishing. Or maybe I'll take the short rod with me and just kind of use it more like a backup style thing, so I don't have to fish with it exclusively the whole time, because I think that's the most annoying part, because I'm not really a fan of that style of fishing in general, and if it's the only method of fishing that I actually have available to me, it's not enjoyable. I don't think this fish is ever coming in. I made like 10 feet of progress and then we're back out. I'm within 200 now, so I think that may actually be the best that we've had so far. If it doesn't go out any further. Yeah, I considered potentially doing like the real life portion and the game portion in other videos, but I think I'm gonna have to figure out a way to make it a little bit shorter, because the real life videos are definitely going to take up some time, and then if I try to combine that with the game footage, which is almost always going to be somewhat slower paced, I think that's going to take too long. So I don't know what my goal is for the length of the videos, but we'll have to see. I guess see what makes sense. I don't really know how these videos are going to be structured. I might actually hit the fish at this point. I guess in terms of like the actual structuring of the video, if I'm just fishing and not trying to do missions, then I think that they could be shorter, because I could just cut them off whenever, or I could cut out a bunch of stuff, but if it's a mission, I don't really think that I can cut it out and make sense with it. I don't want to cut like a big portion of it just because I'm actually doing the mission, and you know, if the mission takes a while, then I feel like it's probably best to say, hey, it takes a while, and actually show that. But yeah, that was a small mouth. Great. I got an achievement though. I have to say though, like, a smallmouth bass in real life does not take that long to get in. Minnow grub and tube. I don't have tubes, I don't have grubs. I have minnows, so I guess we'll just continue to use minnows and see how that plays out. See, I have a spinnerbait, and I do have a small spinnerbait in real life. It's like one of the Booyah Pond something Junior. I don't remember the name of it. But it's a little tiny 1/8 ounce spinnerbait, and I feel like that could potentially be something I use on the ultralight. It is technically an ultralight bait, and if I don't use a trailer on it, I should be able to keep it under 1/8 of an ounce. Generally speaking, the 1/8 of an ounce is actually the weight of the head on a lot of things, which usually means that your 1/8 ounce lure is probably not 1/8 ounce, it's probably heavier. I'm gonna see if there's anything I can buy here.
Oh, Clay, lovely afternoon for a fish. Or perhaps a purchase? Have a browse.
She is by far the most annoying NPC I've ever encountered. See, I don't remember in the past that there was a level requirement on everything. It seems like everything's locked now. I think it was all actually behind the credit value instead of ever. I feel like I should probably buy some line. $75. I do have 210, so a little bit heavier line will help because you can crank your drag up a little bit. Even though like the starter gear is very it's very light anyway, so you can't go crazy with it, but you can actually equip your heavier line, and at least you don't have to worry about snapping it when you crank the drag up a little bit. You still have to worry about snapping it if you touch rocks or the dock or whatever. But I think we're gonna bump that up a little bit, then we'll go see if we can catch this crappie. And I have kind of noticed that even though the game tells you that like you can actually cast somewhere, so if it shows you an area of where you can cast for the fish, sometimes it's actually a lot more specific.
Had a little clash with old Clay. It's like he just doesn't want more people in this park.
Seems to
Maybe
indicate
he'd have to get more buckaroos.
Like you can go to an area where it says catch fish, and then you go to that area and it says you can catch the fish there, which technically you can.
Goodbye for now.
But it's still very specific to where it tells you initially. And sometimes it's more specific than others, it seems. So maybe we have to go on the other side of the bridge and try to catch one there. My dog is very irritated at me because I'm not paying attention to him. He's just sitting over there staring at me right now. But yeah, we're gonna go to the bridge and we're gonna see if we can catch one on the other side. Kind of cast toward these lily pads. Again, so at the minnow. So with bobber. That's what I tried in real life. And I didn't catch anything, so maybe able to work with the real minnow. I don't know. I don't know if you've noticed, I actually tried to match the rod in the game to the rod that I bought. They only had purple. God, flow fishing even sucks in the game. Like, you set the hook so hard on that little fish. This might be a crappie because it's not fighting too much. This might be it. Yeah, this perch. I understand, like, you're not always going to catch the fish that you're going for, but I feel like if you're on like an entry-level mission like this, it should be a little bit more consistent to actually catch what you're going for instead of catching random fish. This is where it says, or no, that's the different, that's the other mission, that's the beginner tutorial section, but let's just see if we can catch this bronze crappie. Like, it shouldn't be that hard as a crappie. I don't know what I'm doing.
Hello, Buck. It's Clay. Just getting in at Ruby River Range if you need me. Got you down here.
Pick some random daily missions here. It's really something you should do in the beginning because there are a lot of daily missions that can be like any fish. You don't have to catch a specific fish. Like any bronze fish would do, any fish in general might do. It's just good to have it going at all times. I just have a habit of forgetting to check. Usually I just pick the easiest ones because it's easier. If you're just picking like any fish, it tends to be easier to complete those, and some of them take forever. I just don't play the game that much to actually catch a specific type of fish, like a specific number of a specific type or a specific weight or whatever. I think if you played it every day, that it would probably be different. Okay, this is another fairly simple fish to reel in, so maybe this is a crappie. It's gotta be a crappie somewhere. Okay, we got it. That's a bronze, so that should complete that mission, and then we can go over and finish the other portion of the beginner mission. Which I kind of hope doesn't take too long. I think this is a little bit easier because it doesn't require you to catch specific fish, which I might be wrong. It's been a while since I did it, but I'm pretty sure it's not specific to a species or anything, so we'll see. This control, like, hooking some bait, whatever. Go to the market location, read the instruction, equip the bloodworm. So we'll go back to the bloodworm. Catch a fish using the bloodworm. Yeah, this isn't like really specific. I'm just checking hook sizes to see what I have. I have 210s for some reason. I don't think you lose hooks and stuff when you break off or whatever. I don't know, you might. It's been a while for that. I don't think you did, but this is fairly accurate. You just kind of stand there and stare at the water. There we go. Should be a smaller fish, I think. Might be too far back. Yeah. Of course. Called it. The thing that is very irritating about this game is if you realize you're too far back when you have a fish on, there's not a whole lot you can do about it. You're just kind of screwed. You're going to break your line. But... got another fish. Maybe we can get this one in quick. That's little. That's really little. So... this might be a juvenile. It's actually literally nothing there. Yeah, it's a juvenile perch. There is juvenile, there's bronze, silver, gold, and diamond, and then there's legendary, which legendary fish are a fair bit more difficult to get. You kind of have to go to where they are, and you have to catch them, and you have to... yeah, this is just telling me to set my hook dip. You have to catch them on what they prefer, and then you have to reel them in. You have to have good equipment, which is really heavy equipment. And I haven't caught the bigger fish for quite a while now, like the legendary ones. I caught the bass, which I don't know how this is going to go now because it seems like you have to level up. So I might actually have to level before I can catch one of the legendary fish. I don't know how much I have to level because I don't know at what point the heavier rods unlock, so... I think the other reserve requires heavier gear too, so... might be a while before we get to that, but we'll try to do the missions on this reserve first. I really wish they made this faster. I feel like this is a really good game if you're watching TV in the background or something. If you just listen for the bells, it's relatively easy to just not even focus on the game and wait till you hear the bell and then set the hook when it tells you to. There's audio cues, there's visual cues, there's vibration if you have vibration on. Is this the one that makes you catch like 2 fish and then you have to catch 5 more or something like that? It might be the mission that makes you do that. If it is, I don't know if I'm going to finish the whole thing this video. We might do it next. We're already pretty long. I think we're over 30 minutes. So, let's see. Yeah, I really need to split this into more than one video. I was kind of hoping I didn't have to, because I thought the tutorial section was a little bit shorter, but that's the thing about this game. There's not a whole lot that you have to do for each tutorial or each mission, but it takes so long to do it, especially if you're float fishing, that it's either going to need to be split up or something. I don't know. You can see the fish jumping out there. That I think it's supposed to mean there's fish there, but realistically, I don't know that it matters that much. Or maybe it's big radius or something. I don't really know. But we are probably going to catch this fish, and then we'll move on to the next video. Unless I just don't catch a fish, in which case we'll put that in the next video. The next video should be shorter, at least. I don't even know how long this video is at this point. It might be like 30 or 40 minutes. I can't remember how long the fishing portion was. We are definitely gonna have to cut it soon. So hopefully I get into the more interesting type of fishing soon. You can actually zoom in on the bobber. I think we are actually gonna catch a fish. Couldn't tell, but I was hitting about every button trying to figure out how to do that. That secure catch button, sometimes it shows up, sometimes it doesn't. I don't really know why. Silver perch. So, next class. Yeah, we're gonna cut it here. Then we'll move on to the next level up. Yeah, we'll move on to the next mission here in the next video. So, hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, feel free to like, subscribe, and come back for the next, where we will catch 5 fish.